Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven, and I am the host. And joining me, as always, is my good friend Tyler. Have to give you guys a quick little apology for missing Thursday's show. Obviously, you can tell by the sound of my voice that I am and have been sick. Tyler has been sick as well, so we did not record on Thursday. But we're feeling mostly healthy, mostly back to normal. So we're back today. Tyler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, despite being, a little bit sick. I think you and I can at least acknowledge that it is possible for Justin Herbert to play good football with a bad offensive line.
Apparently, pressure percentage is rather nuanced for some people who just think quarterback wins are the only thing that matter.
Yeah, one of the dumbest takes I've seen in a while. They continue to impress me in ways that, well, they impress me. So whatever. Thanks, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Shocker that, offensive line and quarterbacks are not always correlated. Like, it is what it is. But it's so funny to me because last year that same guy was arguing about the Chiefs left tackle problems being an issue for Patrick Mahomes. But, for the Chargers and Justin Herbert, that does not matter. Anyways.
No, those goalposts move for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we are here to preview the Chargers and Jaguars game. Obviously, a little bit of a revenge game situation, which we'll definitely talk about. We'll definitely talk about the playoff implications here. A lot of injuries to kind of cover, so we'll dive into all of that. But before we begin, have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and every episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Obviously, we've had a lot of fun talking about this. There are certain PrizePicks things that we would definitely encourage for this upcoming matchup. But PrizePicks, one of the things that I love about it is that how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, you can choose the flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, you can go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. PrizePicks also offers injury reboots. So if one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. So again, I love the flexibility that PrizePicks offers you. As somebody who is very conservative with his money, I do not like to lose out on money. So PrizePicks is a great way to make sure you're having some fun on the weekend while also being able to protect yourself in that regard. So go download that PrizePicks app today and use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's start with this. Obviously, if you are familiar with the Jaguars season, you'll understand why we have a nasal-themed slideshow this week. Any other considerations for the slide deck this week, Tyler?
I think we had done kittens before, so I didn't do anything like cat related or whatever. So I was like, what can I do? I thought about trying to find, Urban Meyer something, but then it was just like, nose. Not specifically because of Trevor Lawrence's nose, but because he was picking his nose on camera this year. So we're going with that one. I'm not like trying to point out a facial feature of his for the sake of pointing out that facial feature. It's his fault that he drew attention to it. So we're running with it.
Yes, he does have a big nose, but, to be fair, the Chargers, Joey Bosa has a rather large schnoz as well. So
yes, he does.
It is what it is. All right, let's dive into the playoff implications here. This is, according to Aaron Schatz of FTN Fantasy, this is the biggest playoff swing of the weekend involving two teams. Obviously, the Chargers are currently the 5 seed. Jaguars are currently the 7 seed. The Chiefs and the Broncos play this week, so that is another big game as well. Mm-hmm. The Chargers, according to the FTN model, have a current, if they win, they will have a 91% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, that number falls down to 58%. The Jaguars are kind of like they're hanging on by a thread right now, and obviously they have the head-to-head against the Chiefs. That's why they're currently the 7th seed. So they're at 57%. If they lose, that drops all the way to 19%. So as Aaron Schatz points out, this is the highest combined percentage playoff odds swing of the weekend. The Chargers, it's not the end of the world if they lose. For the Jaguars, if they lose, it pretty much signals the season is over and their playoff hopes are essentially gone.
Yeah, the Jaguars themselves have one of the biggest swings of the entire weekend. It's do or die essentially for them. I don't know what their remaining schedule is. They play Houston twice. I play the Colts again.
Yeah,
but it's essentially over for them if they lose here. So the Chargers are going to get their best. The Chargers have to give their best as well. But I didn't think this would be the big swinging game for a variety of reasons. But this is one you in particular have had circled in mind since we did the preview show of the entire season. Different way of getting there, and the Chargers are in a much better spot. The Jaguars are in a worse spot. I think we thought they would be.
Yeah,
A variety of reasons we'll get into, but yeah, it's a big game. They've all been big games, but this particularly is the biggest game of the weekend for playoffs odds. So 91% with a win sounds pretty good. That is by far the best they've had all season. So if they win this game with a bye coming up, and that means they've gone, let's see. So that stretch, I don't know when we started talking about, playoffs versus not playoffs, but for them to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1 over the last 6 games heading into the bye would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think you and I kind of talked about at worst case scenario, the Chargers need to head into the bye in the previous 4-game stretch at 3-1. And they have a chance to go 4-0, which is obviously fantastic. They've played some really good games recently. Obviously, Khalil Mack coming back has been huge. Deshaun Hand, etc. So if they're able to go 4-0 in this stretch and have that 91% playoff percentage chance, plus the Raiders coming out after the bye, that's just fantastic. So just I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but if the Chargers are able to beat the Jaguars and the Raiders, their playoff percentage chances would sit at 96% on the Athletics model. So not that this is, the Chargers are definitely trending towards that, but it's an extremely important game. It gives them, we'll see about the Jaguars, right? Like if they're at 19%, that doesn't mean they're out of it, but having that, playoff tiebreaker in your back pocket with a head-to-head win is just so important. So, I remember in 2017, the Chargers obviously started 0-4, but then they were really playing like a playoff team, but they had a head-to-head loss to, I believe, or they lost a tiebreaker to the Bills. I can't remember what it was. And it just felt like such, it felt like there was such disappointment because it felt like a playoff team. And so for the Chargers, if they get to the end of the season and they miss out on the playoffs because they lose this game and the Jaguars sneak in at the 7th seed, or same thing with the Houston game, for example, it just feels like that would be, an extremely frustrating way to end the season. So you want to have as many tiebreaker advantages as you can. And so beating the Jaguars, beating the Texans, who are also kind of fighting for playoff positioning, it would just be huge. And obviously it's a very important game. You guys don't need to, this is not anything groundbreaking, but 91% to 58% is a very big swing, where if you lose, now the Jaguars, Texans, Chiefs, all those teams are very much in play. Steelers potentially as well. So it's extremely important. And then there's also the 2022 playoff game aspect of this as well.
Yes, it's been a rough week with the member berries on that one, just struggling to avoid thinking about that game, but you always do. And I think the other thing here is not just, do they make the playoffs or do they not? It's, do they win their division? The Broncos have had the dumbest stretch of wins. Like last year with the Chiefs, it just was like weird, like black magic luck. This year, it's just, I don't know, barely beating awful teams, but they've won. So they're atop of the division right now. But they have the Chiefs this week, then they have a bye, but the Chargers have that head-to-head. Washington, Vegas, but then Green Bay, Jacksonville, Kansas City, and the Chargers again. So the Chargers really need this game to just stay, as close as they can to the Broncos.
Yeah.
Ultimately, until A, they play the Chiefs, or the Broncos play the Chiefs twice, and B, that Week 18 game. So just keep adding the wins.
Yeah, as long as they can stay a game behind the Broncos, you have a chance to obviously win your division, which it would be insanely important. So people have been asking me all week, like, should we root for the Chiefs? Should we root for the Broncos? It's kind of like a mixed bag for me because it would be great for the Chiefs to just like not make the playoffs, and if they lose this weekend, that would be fantastic. Like that just kind of strengthens their case that way. From a playoff percentages, it doesn't really affect the Chargers, but if the Chargers win and the Chiefs win, the Chargers' likelihood to host the wild card weekend or essentially win the division goes from 24% to 29%. So the Broncos would still be a bit ahead in that regard. But if the Chargers win, Broncos win, then it kind of stays the same where it's like, I think it's like 23%. So
yeah,
it's not a huge swing for the Chargers in terms of like hosting the wild card game. Again, they have an upcoming game against each other to finish the season. So that's the most important swing. But I don't know, man. Like I just don't really believe in the Broncos, and I think eventually their luck is going to run out. And they're missing J.K. Dobbins this week. They're missing Pat Surtain this week. So it could be a very interesting game for the Broncos. And there's been a lot of narratives about, Bo Nix and things like that. And, Ari Marov, who does great work, is like, yeah, the Broncos lead the league in punts. Like, how is that possible? It's like, well, their quarterback. That's how that's possible. So as Thomas Martinez points out, I think ideally for the Chargers, the Broncos and Chiefs split their series, and they have 2 games upcoming. So we'll see if that this game is in Denver. So we'll see how that goes. But I do expect the Chiefs to at least win one of their 2 games against the Broncos.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
All right, let's get to a Jacksonville Jaguars check-in. So the good for the Jaguars, they are 2nd in EPA per rush and 3rd in rushing success rate in Cohen's first year. This is his bag. This is what he is known for. So it's not a huge surprise that the Jaguars run game has been pretty successful, even though, obviously a lot of people were wondering, okay, in Tampa, you have potentially like the best offensive line in the league. How is that going to look like where the Jaguars offensive line is just it's not up to par with the Buccaneers. From a run game perspective, it's been pretty good. The passing game is a bit more of a mixed bag, but the Jaguars can run the football, which is definitely important for the Chargers defense in this one. Unfortunately for me, but also fortunately, the light has definitely flipped on for Devin Lloyd. He will make his return after missing a couple of games to injury. So he will be back this week. He has 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 14 pressures, and he is PFF's 2nd highest graded linebacker, trailing only Fred Warner, whose season is obviously over. But it's a good little notch for Devin Lloyd. Eric Armstead back to his San Francisco form. He had a bit of a down season last year. A lot of Jaguars did, but he has 31 pressures and 5 sacks. We know what the interior pass rush has been able to get to for the Chargers on the offensive line. So that's a key thing to keep an eye on. Josh Hines Allen is 6th in the league in total pressures among all starting edge rushers. And then I could not put the good in here and not mention Cam Little. So he's 16 for 20 overall, but he did set the record for longest field goal in NFL history. So it's a bit of a, he's I think he's like 16th in total field goal percentage, but at the same time, like he is somebody who, once the Jaguars get to midfield, they are essentially in field goal range. So it is definitely something to keep an eye on, particularly when it pertains to Chargers kicking off and special teams and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. So that was insane, that kick. But with Cohen, we'll obviously on the good, we don't have Trevor Lawrence listed and the passing game listed, so we'll get to that. But we knew that there was at least a great run game play caller here. It was the worst I had seen Minter's defense play, and we will talk about that in terms of stopping the run. Last year, it just felt like they could do whatever they wanted, and there was nothing the Chargers could do. Yes, as you said, the Bucs line was good. Clearly, Cohen has more than just the Bucs line going for him. It's worked. ETN's cooled off a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Playing the Texans definitely does not help you with that. But he's had a bit more of a turnaround to his career. His yards after contact is way higher than it has throughout his career. So he's having a much better season. This is the specific thing I have circled in this game. I think everyone remembers. Well, we remember Herbert getting killed against the Bucs, but that line, that whole group is not here. But we also remember Bucky Irving and that group just running all over the Chargers in that game.
Yeah, I think when it comes to run game design, like Liam Cohen is probably up there with the best of them. And so the Jaguars are going to do a lot of misdirection. They're going to do a lot of counter, a lot of zone. It's a super fun run game to watch as just like pure football like analysis. Like they do a lot of cool things. They do have some injuries that might potentially impact that, but it's a big challenge. The Chargers have been, much better against the run, and more on that later, but they haven't really played any great rushing attacks in this 3-game stretch. And obviously that Colts game, when they did play a great run game, that did not look great. So the Chargers need to show up in this one and play with the same level of physicality that they have been. And I think that's the biggest thing. And we'll get to that, more on that in a second here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, the bad for the Jaguars. Again, the infamous picking of his nose here is just fantastic. So Trevor Lawrence, after that 2022 playoff game, people were crowning Trevor Lawrence as the next guy. And since that point, it has not gone very well. So when it comes to EPA per play and completion percentage over expectation, he is 31st in the league. He is behind Bryce Young, Justin Fields. He's behind JJ McCarthy. It's not good, and it has not been a good season for Trevor Lawrence. I still think he is like a very talented player, but the inconsistencies have been very prominent, and I think there is some struggles to this particular system from his perspective, as well as Brian Thomas and his regression, because Liam Cohen wants to throw the middle of the field all the time. Like, that is how the Rams and Buccaneers have, obviously made their heyday. And I don't think Lawrence is particularly comfortable throwing towards the middle of the field, and the numbers back that up. And so Doug Peterson, it was a lot of, RPO action. It was a lot of vertical stuff, flats and things like that. It's very simple offense. This offense is very much more complex. It's a lot more middle of the field stuff. And I don't think Lawrence has particularly taken kindly to this offense. And so, there have been games, against the Chiefs, for example, where he looks great and he makes some really crucial plays. But then there's last week against the Texans, where I think he finished dead last in the league in EPA per play. So it's been much more of a mixed bag for Lawrence this season than I think anybody would have expected.
Yeah, if you had told me Lawrence would be 31st, I'd say that's almost impossible after having Brian Thomas from last year and what we expected of him, adding Cohen, adding Travis Hunter. There's no way I would have guessed this would be 31st in EPA plus CPOE. So, yeah, if that middle of the field is a problem for him, great. That's a bit of a struggle point for the Chargers. So, because the boundaries are not an issue for the Chargers, usually the deep part of the field is not an issue for the Chargers. That middle is, and they defended that very, very, very well last week against Rodgers, who loves the middle of the field. So, if that's a problem for Lawrence in this game, I'll have at it. His turnover-worthy play rate, the turnovers he has, it's brutal. So I'm expecting to hit them more on Prize Picks this week on those.
Yeah, I would as well. Also bad, Travis Hunter is on injury reserve. Season is over effectively for him. I think they kind of bit off more than they could chew in that regard, with him like playing offense and defense a little bit. I'm not like a huge Travis Hunter fan by any means, but it sucks to lose out on a talent like that right away. And so hopefully for his sake, he can kind of bounce back next season. The receiver group in general has not played well. They have 25 drops on the season. They lead the league in EPA per play lost on drops. I think it's been 4 interceptions off of those drops. So it's not just that the drops are happening, it's that they're also leading to turnovers. They're also missing out on touchdowns, big plays, etc. And Brian Thomas is the big one there. So his regression in general is a problem for them. He does have 7 drops, but a full yard less per route run than what he had last season, which is not good. So, there were some conversations about like Ladd McConkey, right? And it was like, oh, like his numbers are bad, but then now he's been, amazing because he's getting, more touches and, he's not getting double teamed as much as like that. Brian Thomas has just been bad. Like it's every single week he's costing his team by drops, by not running routes, the full, concept of things like that. So it's not been good. This is definitely a high pressure rate game because the Chargers are second offensive line wise in pressures allowed according to PFF, and the Jaguars are third. And their best offensive lineman is going to be missing this week. So I think Herbert and Lawrence are going to be under a lot of pressure this week, unfortunately, for both of those guys.
I would imagine Herbert is a little better, not considering he's not 31st in EPA plus CPOE. I'm assuming Herbert when pressured, and we've seen him be very good when pressured. Yeah, obviously I don't want to put this all, and we don't want to put this all on Trevor Lawrence. There's a lot of things going on too that are beyond him. Leads the league in EPA per drop. I believe that was Herbert 2 years ago. I feel like he was pretty close to that number
in
a couple of
2023
years ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's maybe even happened twice in his career because that's just Herbert's luck. But we've seen the negatives of that, where we can look at Herbert's numbers and go, oh, what's missing here? But then you look at the EPA lost on drops, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of the difference in some of these games, or in being in the mid-tier quarterback conversation versus like elite-tier quarterback conversation. So not all on Trevor Lawrence. Travis Hunter hurt, and Thomas Martinez says hurt every year in college, mismanagement by the Jags. I don't know what the outcome is going to be here, but I think, as you said, they bit off more than they can chew. Mismanagement, whatever you want to call it. He's a very talented player. I believe was top 10 for both of us in terms of wherever the rankings were.
Yeah. If he was purely a corner, I would have probably had him as like number 1 in the class. But
yeah,
they apparently are like hell bent on him being a receiver, which I think is a mistake. But it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. He'll end up being I don't know, converted to something, to some other team. Anyway, yeah, for all the talk of regression, Brian Thomas, I mean, Ladd McConkey has, let's see, 211 more yards than Brian Thomas does. Ladd McConkey also leads the entire rookie class, or the 2024 class, in receiving yards, but sure, like regression or whatever. I understand the talks at the beginning of the season. He's fine. Everybody can, as we mentioned in the last show, he's fine. Brian Thomas, I couldn't believe it. He looked like he was somehow the best receiver from that class, with Neighbors, with Marvin, with Ladd, with Rome. It's like, whoa, Brian Thomas and Lawrence, this is great. What is he going to do in year 2? Woof. The talks about him from anybody covering the Jaguars is really, really rough. Have I watched a lot of games of them? No. But in the games that I have watched, it's an odd situation. And I think there were even talks of, I don't think they were real talks, but there was never a Ladd McConkey trade rumbling, right? With Brian Thomas, there were already some rumblings, whether you buy them or not. And the fact that that's something you're even considering, or that even media is considering in year 2, year 1.5, is really, really, really sad.
Yeah. I remember Diana Rossini pointed that out as like he was a name that people were calling on. The Jags were like not listening, but they were like, maybe, like, give us an offer. So it was insane to me that was happening. And we see this a lot. I mean, the Jets traded Sauce Gardner like 3 months after extending him. So sometimes these regime changes lead to crazy trades or cuts or benchings or whatever that we just don't expect. And so we'll have to keep an eye on that in the offseason to see if that is something that the Jaguars explore. I know that there's a lot of the rumblings of Trevor Lawrence not being on this team next year from the Jacksonville reporters is pretty loud. Like they believe that Cohen is not happy with the way that Trevor Lawrence is playing, and it's hard to argue with the numbers here. But these huge contract players, high draft pick players, once you change regimes, it's completely up for grabs. So the Jaguars could certainly be up for a big fire sale next season. We'll have to see what that goes. I mean, they already traded Tyson Campbell midseason this year, and Campbell was like one of the biggest building blocks from the previous regime. So they've already changed a lot, and I think we could see them change a lot next year.
Yeah, I don't know how many years Lawrence has left, but we've seen with every team every year, it feels like you don't want to wait, and then things are getting dicey, so you draft that first round quarterback, and then you get fired. Like, that's just the inevitable thing that seems to happen in a lot of coaches' final years. Brian Dable, we just saw fired mid-season. You don't want to be that team. So if you think he's not the guy, move on.
Yeah, it blows my mind how many teams will do that. I mean, the Bears have done it a lot. The Giants have done a lot. The Jets have done it a lot. Drafting a quarterback with a lame duck coach. I mean, that was like the main reason why I didn't want the Chargers to draft a quarterback with Anthony Lynn, is because I'm like, we all know he's not going to be here next year. So it's luckily that Justin Herbert has worked out more than well enough. But it's a very rare thing to see where your head coach gets fired and the quarterback actually works out. And thankfully the Chargers are okay with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and then Herbert even still had a coach fired after that.
Yeah.
So, not Herbert's fault.
Yeah, not Herbert's fault, as some people might say. All right. Before we continue, our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back after this with more Chargers Jaguars preview. All right. So, exercising the demons is how Tyler has this title. I think that's more than fair. We'll get to some injuries first here. The Chargers, for the first time in a while, do not have any doubtful or out designations this week. They do have a lot of players questionable. Bobby Hart was back at practice in a limited capacity this week, so we'll see what happens there once he's fully healthy. Quentin Johnston, Scott Matlock, and Elijah Molden popped up on the injury report, but he practiced in full yesterday. And then Tareeb still working his way back from practice from his injury as well. I do not expect him to play, but he was a full participant in practice yesterday, which is a great sign for him and his return after the bye week.
Yeah, despite their other than the 14 players on IR, the Chargers are very healthy right now. So it's at least good that we're not sitting here with like a Mekhi Becton, this or that. Honestly, the biggest surprise for me, of course he's going to play, is that Herbert's not on here at all. There was no anything for Herbert. Was clearly hurt in the last game. So hey, I'm fine with that. I'm not complaining. I don't want to see Herbert on here for anything, but I'm glad that he wasn't on here at all. Gadsden, it was never really a big thing once they revealed it was just a bruise, but good to see that he's been full and no designation into this game.
Yeah,
I've never been so excited to see Bobby Hart back in my life, or at least questionable, so possibly going to play. TBD on active versus inactive, given that he is questionable, but the fact that he's around makes me feel, I guess, better. Yeah. So all other than Alt and Slater and Harris and Hampton and everybody I like that it's on IR. It's nice to see that the team that is here is feeling okay. Becton's not on here, and they're traveling okay heading into Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think Gadsden not having an injury designation is fantastic. We're going to talk about Herbert and his health in a little bit here, but I think I'm stunned that he's not even on the injury report at all. Like he started the game, no ankle tape, and then finished the game with both of his ankles taped. And he was very beat up, on the field. So I'm stunned that Herbert is not on here, at least in like a limited capacity, which obviously it's great. Whatever he did on Monday and Tuesday, fantastic. Maybe he jumped into Matthew Stafford's trailer that, fixed his back in one sitting or whatever the heck that is. But Harbaugh's quote about his update was like, yeah, confirmed he's still a beast. It was so funny. Very much a Harbaugh quote for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad LD Bruins bringing up Elijah Molden. That surprise DNP was like, oh, you got to be kidding me again. This guy's just rounding back into form, playing well.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Thomas Martinez. And you guys suck. My ADD is too much for you guys to be singing it in comments like that. But I'm glad Molden is full or limited, excuse me, and not trending out, I suppose, because you pointed him out as one of the biggest highlights from the last game, and I would agree.
Yeah. When he popped up on the injury report on Thursday, I was like, are you kidding me? Like again? But looks like he could potentially go this week. So Harbaugh said that Tony Jefferson was a healthy scratch last week, which I think is very interesting, just given RJ Mickens has been playing well. I don't think he's been like awesome. So I'm definitely a little surprised that they're leaning all the way into Mickens as kind of that third safety instead of Tony Jefferson. Obviously, Kendall Williamson is going to stay on the active roster because of special teams purposes. Are you as surprised as I am that Jefferson has been a healthy scratch? Because I thought like, oh, he was injured.
Right.
Maybe this was the case. And then Harbaugh was like, oh, he was a healthy scratch along with Will Dissly. So what are your thoughts on Mickens versus Jefferson?
The first surprise was the same as you said. I just thought he was, hurt, and this has been something he's working back from. And it's not like they're so desperate to get Tony Jefferson back out there. So if he's inactive, I get it. But to see that he was a healthy scratch along with Will Dissly, as they mentioned too, was a bit of a surprise. I don't know if they're trying to go a bit more youth movement because they've obviously traded away Jaw Taylor and put Nico Reed in the slot. So I don't know if they're just trying to see a bit more of these younger who are, again, like you said, it's not like RJ Mickens is playing terribly. Nico Reed's not playing terribly. The opposite is true. Yeah. But it almost feels like they were trying to see what they more so have in some of these younger guys with maybe a bit more upside, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. I don't recall the last couple of games that Jefferson played being significantly positive or negative.
Yeah.
So I don't know why make the change now, I suppose. But RJ Mickens does have, upside. The interception was kind of a gimme, but he's increasing his level of play, and there is a ceiling that he can reach that would be better than Jefferson's. So I don't know. I don't know why Jefferson's been a healthy scratch. I assume that's going to continue this week. I don't know if they just wanted someone. I don't know. That one is a bit confusing to me, as is the one with Will Dissly. I don't get it. I don't get that one.
Yeah, I think long-term wise, it's great that Mickens is getting these reps because, he was essentially drafted to be, Alohi's replacement going forward. Obviously, Elijah Molden is under contract long-term here, and Derwin's obviously not going anywhere. So I kind of expected a bit of a redshirt season for him. He's playing, and it's been up and down. Like, some of his run support angles are really good. Sometimes I think he just kind of is adjusting to the speed of the NFL a little bit. He still is kind of spinning in coverage a little bit, and you pointed out like how cool it was to see Derwin James like, hey, go up, but ideally you would like to see him just kind of handle that on his own. So I think it's been a work in progress, but he's making plays on the football. I think his range athletically is just a lot better than what Tony Jefferson can give you, and I think that would have been the case when Jefferson was like fully healthy. Against a team like this who wants to run the football and wants to get to the edges, I kind of would prefer that Jefferson plays over Mickens. But obviously if Molden isn't able to go, then we'll see both of those two. But this week in particular, I do feel like Jefferson should get out there a little bit more, just because you want that like sure-handed tackling presence on the edges a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree there. I think Mickens has improved. But dating back to the Dolphins game, that miss wasn't super great.
Yeah,
H-N's freaking fast. Like, I don't think that there's
he does that a lot. He does that to a lot of safeties.
Yeah, there's adjusting to the speed of the NFL, and then there's adjusting to the fastest person in the NFL.
Yes.
So that's a whole different ball game. But yeah, would like Jefferson out there. I think there's a physical element. Not that Mickens isn't, but they're starting to get this back with some of their veteran players, with Mack, with Perryman. I just think that one extra thing that Jefferson provides is worth having at least active for.
Yeah, I agree there. Much more significant injury report for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The big one is obviously Anton Harrison, their right tackle. He did not practice all week after injuring his knee and ankle. So he is out. He has been by far their best offensive lineman this season, which makes sense. He's their most talented one. He's the first round draft pick status, and I think he's been relatively pretty good for his career so far. And then just as big, I would argue, is that Jordan Lewis, their starting slot corner, is also out this week after injuring his neck on Sunday against the Houston Texans. So two big absences for them. Hunter Long and Brenton Strange, their two tight ends, also out. And then Brian Thomas Jr., who we talked about in his regression, was a limited participant in practice all week, and he is questionable. So some very significant absences for the Jaguars. Obviously, as Chargers fans, we do not feel bad at all, but it is very important for this game.
Yeah, it didn't feel bad for Aaron Rodgers with the one player he's missed all year in one game. And I don't feel bad for the Jaguars here. That's a couple of key injuries. Jordan Lewis, that one actually escaped me when looking at the injury report. I saw the offensive linemen, I saw the tight ends, I saw Brian Thomas. I did not realize that Jordan Lewis was out in this game, so that's a big one. Thankfully Keenan Allen already broke his record, but Keenan, Ladd, all these guys that benefit in the slot. Gadsden, of course. Good day for them.
We didn't put Gadsden on here, on the preview, but him bouncing back, I think, is a key thing this game. After having the two drops last week, and the way that they want to target him, I think, is very important for this game. But him being healthy is the most important thing. So hopefully he can bounce back in a big way on tomorrow morning, I should say.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the coaching storylines we are pointing to. I think you and I are both on the same page that the Jaguars' run game is the most important thing. We mentioned they're very successful so far this season. I'm very excited to see what Jesse Minter has going this week, because I can't imagine he's very happy with what went on tape against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year when they allowed 40 points, 223 yards rushing. they were the most successful rushing attack that week in the NFL. I don't think Jesse Minter, Khalil Mack, all these guys are very happy in that regard of how they showed out against the Buccaneers. There's obviously that revenge game. There's general Jacksonville revenge game. So I'm curious to see if there's any wrinkles that the Chargers are throwing their way this week. I'm sure they're familiar with this team now, this scheme, I should say. When it comes to the last 3 weeks, the Chargers are second in defensive EPA per rush and second in rushing success rate. Obviously, Khalil Mack has been returning to his usual role, and that has been a huge thing. You mentioned Denzel Perryman, Elijah Molden, etc. So the Chargers defense is much healthier than they have been. They have their big physical guys back. I think they're setting the edge harder. I think they are attacking downhill more physically. But this is a big challenge, and I think ultimately is going to define the game. If they let Travis Etienne get going, and it could be a long day. If they are able to keep him bottled up, it could be a long day for the Jaguars. So to me and to you, easily the Jaguars run game is the most important aspect of this game.
Yeah, it is. Even if the Chargers had never played Liam Cohen and the Bucs last year, I think this is what you have to circle. And then also we saw them do this last year. Bucky Irving just 7.8 yards per carry or something. Rashad White almost 4.5 yards per carry, whatever it ended up being. Just unstoppable. And I'm just curious: is this run defense that the Chargers have had the last couple of weeks? Warren Hurdle aside, are they for real again? Are we back, or is this more of, like you said, against the Colts, which is its own kind of buzzsaw problem? Like that is also like they're just far and away.
Yeah, they have the MVP of the league in my opinion right now. So
yeah, Jonathan Taylor's EPA per rush is like double the second place person, which is insane, or total EPA. So yeah, this is definitely the coaching storyline. If you did not put this would have been mine. So this is a big one. I'm curious, how they respond in this game. Are they for real? We already talked about the safeties. How do they respond? I think Perryman, Molden in particular, have really stepped up in the run game. Does that continue? Is Molden even on the field? So we'll see what happens with this one. The only other thing I can think of, not only other thing I can think of, one thing I wanted to highlight, which is avoiding that East Coast slow start. It has been rough. Granted, the offensive line has not been great. I think the Chargers have been adjusting. So if you look like sequentially, from the Giants game to the Dolphins game to the Titans game, their first quarter EPA is getting better, but it's been a slow start. They were 31st in first quarter EPA against the Giants, 22nd against the Dolphins, 16th against the Titans. And then for first half EPA in those games, 24th, 25th, and 12th. It's a little bit better against the Titans, who were missing Simmons and were actively basically tanking. But Draymond Jones and Sebastian Joseph Day said otherwise, and they struggled. Those defenses were basically not good when they played them. Now, Giants played better, and I think the Titans generally played better initially in those games. Dolphins, but the Jaguars will be the best defense that they face. Of these four teams, the East Coast travels, they're the only one that has a top 20 defense right now. They're 18th in EPA per play. So this East Coast thing, a 10 a.m. game, which I've learned that Steven hates. But clearly the Chargers offense does not like that either. So from a coaching perspective, can you avoid that slow start? I don't expect them to put up 40 points against the Jaguars. It'd be nice, but can they avoid that slow start on the road? And if also just take away the run game of the of the Jaguars and Liam Cohen.
Yeah, they've been leaving earlier on Fridays, which I think maybe could help a little bit. Not to say that adjusting is to time. I want to say, so they usually practice around 12, and they used to leave at 4 or 5. Now they're leaving at 12-ish instead of 4 or 5. So not that the extra 4 or 5 hours makes a huge difference, but curious to see if that one pans out. I think I'm curious about how much of the slow start is opponent driven, in these games. The Giants and Dolphins were both relatively bad teams. I think that's fair to say. And I think the Titans game, not that they were great, but it was a more important game for the Chargers. They were, coming off of the loss, and they were trying to rebound. So I'm curious if the Chargers can start strong this game, just because this is a playoff potential matchup. And this is, there's a lot of hype around this game. It's a very important game for both teams. Obviously, the revenge aspect of it, which is very much a real thing. We're going to talk about Khalil Mack in a second here. But this is This is a game that the Chargers not necessarily have to win, but Jim Harbaugh mentioned like all these games now in November, December, like you ideally want to win all of them to set yourself up for success. So I'm curious, is this more of a, start strong possibility for the Chargers just given the moment and who they are playing?
Yeah, no, good call there. I was looking up their first quarter EP on the whole season. Okay, 25th. So it's been a bit of a struggle. I think they've just also lost players in that first half. Alt in both games was the first half.
Alt against the Giants in Tennessee. Yeah, it was like late in the first quarter.
Yeah, so I'm sure that does not help at all. So 18th on the season in the first half. So East Coast, West Coast, Raiders, whatever, just start faster.
Yeah, I think that's important. Last thing about the Jaguars run game I want to mention is that while they do a lot of stuff, what is really in vogue right now in the NFL is like 6 offensive linemen, multiple tight ends. The Jaguars don't really do that. They do like the bulk of their plays out of 11 personnel with the 3 receivers and 1 tight end. So they run 68% of their plays out of 11 personnel. So this offense is very much Rams, pre-2020s, I would say, in terms of the way that Liam Cohen is running it. So the Chargers, we've talked a lot about like against the Colts and against the Steelers. The Chargers are going to have to, match the tendencies, right? They're going to have to get into base defense more. They're going to be able to play nickel the whole game this week. Like the Jaguars don't really put big bodies out there. So I'm, again, just kind of curious if that helps them defend the run a little bit more, because that allows the Chargers kind of do their thing as opposed to, we have to change the way we want to play because these teams are getting so many extra big bodies out there. So I am curious about how that goes as well.
Yeah, the Dolphins didn't exactly have a whole lot of tight end work, but they did have Alec Ingold. They did have a fullback.
Yeah, the Dolphins do a lot of fullback stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, hey, works for me.
All right, let's get what we are most excited to see. Tyler, why don't you take this one first?
Yeah, everybody remembers this game. And look, you actually pointed out the fact that it's a revenge game for Jesse Minter himself and some of these players from last year. So that's a part of it. But everyone's been asked about it, for better or worse. Would I ask them? Would I intentionally bring up a past trauma and ask a player about it? Probably not. But it's brought up because it's, it did happen. It was awful. Thanks a lot, Brandon Staley and everybody else, and Joe Lombardi and that Michael Lombardi thing. And go watch Braden Poco's video and feel re-traumatized about it.
Yeah.
But everyone's remembering this game. And Khalil Mack, I don't remember the exact quote, but he's like, well, there are some games you just save some stuff for. And this is one of them. It's like, okay, so Khalil Mack is going to, with no Anton Harrison as well, with the Jags offensive lineup being very good, select the more on Prize Picks for Khalil Mack. I just feel like everybody effing hated how that, and how can you not hate how that game went? It was the beginning of the Herbert is not clutch, talk. And winning this game is not going to make the Chargers a contender. Winning this game does not mean the Chargers are Super Bowl contenders. This does not mean that Herbert is now, quote unquote, clutch, even though we all know he is, but it's the playoffs, right? But I'm just very excited to see everyone have their own therapy in the form of kicking the shit out of the Jaguars this week.
There's no better form of therapy than just like fully exercising your demons. It's just the best way possible.
Exactly.
So we would love to like not talk about that game, and we're not going to like rehash everything. And Justin was asked about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember every game," just like very typical Justin Herbert fashion. Derwin was asked about it. He's like, "Nah, we're good." And then Khalil Mack, Khalil Mack brought up the Michael Jordan quote, where sometimes you just have to put some motivational things in your pocket and then bring them out. And this is one of those games. So Khalil Mack and this defense, I expect to show out very well, particularly the edge rusher room, which has been phenomenal since Khalil came back, and OA is back. And OA's got 3 or 4 reps a game as a pass rusher that I'm just like, dude, this guy is so good, just in his technical aspect of things. The Jaguars tackle situation is not good. So Walker Little is allowing his pass blocking efficiency rating is a 94.8. He's allowed 8 sacks on the season. Anton Harrison has been much better. He's not been like amazing, but his PB I think is like 97. So it's about average. So now they have a backup right tackle, a bad starting left tackle. The way that the Jaguars want to run the football, it's a lot of edge, like they want to target your edge rushers. And this is a very positive matchup for the Chargers edge rushers. Like the tackles are not very good. Khalil, I expect to be very fired up. So we don't have to rehash everything about the 2022 game, but Khalil Mack brought it up, and he is the one who is like, hey man, like we are going to be extra motivated for this one. And I think that's very important for how the defense needs to play, has been playing just from a physical standpoint. And so I do expect a very big, very prominent performance from Mr. Khalil Mack.
Yeah, and he's, talk the talk and walk the walk kind of guy, but he also just speaks it into existence for the entire team.
Yes.
The defense, I think, in particular, but the entire team just rallies behind what he says. You don't have to say it, but I'll say the quiet parts out loud kind of deal. 36 pressures and 8 sacks allowed by Walker Little in 9 games. One of two things are going to happen. Either Mack is going to have 3 or 4 sacks this game, or no one's going to have a single pressure in this game. I know how this goes. I've seen enough games.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Thankfully, it's not as much. I don't know what Lawrence's time to throw is. It's less of the quick game RPO stuff, as you mentioned. So there should be enough time. Clearly, this is one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So someone's getting pressures and someone is giving up pressures. So Mac, OA, I don't know. It feels like it's just going to be kind of like what we saw last week.
Let's see what Lawrence's time to throw is. So it's still pretty fast. It's 2.58 per dropback. There are Tua's at 2.33 right now, which is insane. So he's still getting the ball out pretty quick, but it's not as quick. They do have a lot of screens in their bag. That was another thing that we could have talked about, but Justin Herbert, for reference sake, is 2.68 to average time to throw. So Lawrence, I think when they played the playoff game, it was like Tua's. It was like 2.3, 2.4, very, very fast.
Yeah.
So he is holding the ball a little bit longer, throwing the football downfield a little bit more. And that's been a big difference for them.
Yeah. So Walker Little, 3rd worst PBE in the league. I'm so glad I looked that up so I could immediately see who the worst one was, and it's Austin Deculus. So thanks for the unintentional trauma on my part.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine, I'm just excited to see what the Chargers on 3rd downs do. Again, this is kind of, branching off of the edge rusher point, but the Chargers, to their credit on offense, and really credit to Justin Herbert, they are 2nd in offensive success rate on 3rd downs, according to Sumer Sports. They are converting at a really, really high rate. Again, credit to Justin Herbert, to Keenan Allen, to Ladd McConkey, to Kamani Vidal. Like it's been really, really good to see. The Jaguars on offense are 19th, so they are not struggling, but 2nd to 19th. That's a big advantage on 3rd downs. On defense, it's arguably even as much of an advantage here, where the Chargers on defense, despite all of this, kind of that struggle stretch against the Commanders and Colts and Dolphins and stuff like that, they're 11th in success rate on 3rd downs, and the Jaguars are 24th. So I think this is, it's not groundbreaking analysis to bring up 3rd downs, right? But the Chargers on 3rd downs have been very good on both sides of the ball. And it's been a key reason to the success, particularly over the last 3 weeks, where they're able to sustain drives and get these, 7-8 minute drives going. And then the defense is staying fresh. They can get positive 1st down, 2nd down. And then you just unleash these 3 edge rusher looks, sometimes 4 edge rusher looks. Last week, they dropped 8 several times on 3rd downs. So I think their 3rd down packages that they can run on defense, and Jesse Mentor talked about that this week, with Owe and Mac, fully integrated at this point, it just gives them so many options. And then Thule is crushing it against guards right now. And so 3rd downs, I think, should be a pretty big advantage for the Chargers this week, just from an execution standpoint. Which quarterback do I trust more? Which pass rush do I trust more? I think that could be a key thing in the game. I mean, it always is a key thing in any game.
Sure.
But this week, it feels like the Chargers have a pretty big advantage here.
Yeah, of course. 3rd down is important, but I'm glad you pointed out. And I honestly, gun to my head, would not have guessed the Chargers were this good on offense in 3rd down.
Yeah, it was surprising to me as well.
Yeah. So we saw last week against the Steelers, their defense on 3rd down. I mean, they didn't allow a conversion, I think, until that last drive that didn't matter, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not the entire game. If there was one, it was one. But the point is, it was either 1 for 12 on 3rd and 4th down, or 0 for 11 or something.
Yeah.
So the
I think so.
defense was fantastic. I love the way they play third down. I love that they get Cam Hart, Jackson, these guys to play closer to the receivers, throw the timing off, let Owe or Thule or someone do a spin move, get something. Just phenomenal work on third down last week against a better offensive line, a better quick game, middle of the field quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think this week they should feast. So we talk, I have here on Mac and exercising his own demons. That defensive line in general, I definitely think can, if that comes to third down, if they can stop the run, which you mentioned in the previous slide, then yeah, third down should be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that one goes. Thule just turned 23, by the way, as Eric points out. He's been awesome this season. And Khalil was like, why aren't you guys talking more about Thule? I think he's 5th in the league in sacks right now, so he's been balling. And when they get him inside, like I said, he is rushing so well against guards. His pass rush bag is much deeper. Jim Harbaugh talked about how much training and work he gets, and like situation matters so much for these players, right? And I wasn't like, neither of us were super high on Thule, but you get him into this situation where his at that time defensive line coach is Giff Smith, and he gets to work with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack every single day. And now you get into this kind of situation with Mike Elston and I forget the actual edge rusher coach, his name.
They just hired him too.
But from Notre Dame. It's a really good coaching staff. Khalil's still here. Not that Bud Dupree's like an awesome player, but he's been in the league for 14 years at this point. Now he's got Owe, who has some different juice to him too. So Thule from the jump is just like, I'm absorbing everything, like just throw everything at me. And right now we're seeing him really take a pretty significant jump as a player.
Yeah.
And if it were not for him after Khalil got injured, like that defense would have been so much in worse shape. But luckily he was able to kind of like hold things down a little bit. And now with him and Mac and Owe, like it's great. Like these edge rushers, like with Owe healthy versus Joey on and off the field, like this is probably the best version of the trio of edge rushers that we'll see or that we have seen, I should say, in quite a while.
Yeah. I'm glad Thule said, or not, excuse me, Khalil Mack said, why aren't you talking about Thule more? Did someone ask about Mac and then he said, why not talk more about Thule? Or what was it? Do you remember the question?
I think they just asked, like, what have you seen from Thule's development kind of question. And he was like, yeah, like, why aren't you guys talking about him more? Yeah.
I think it's I don't know. We talked about him despite not having any sacks going into what game was it? Some game he had no sacks.
Giants game.
Giants game. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Possibly that's it. But yeah, he's not the name if you're a casual fan that you'd bring up, but he's been awesome. So yeah, happy to talk about Thule this week if he gets more sacks.
Yeah. All right. What is keeping us up at night? I think for all of us, it's been the offensive line all season long. And I'm not going to like hammer home anything, but the Chargers are presumably set to start Trevor Penny at left tackle. That was the combination, according to Daniel Popper yesterday in practice. Jim Harbaugh said on Wednesday that Penny was going to focus fully at left tackle this week after last week kind of flip-flopping sides a little bit more. I hate that he's wearing number 64, by the way. It's a horrible left tackle number.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the Chargers' 7th different offensive line combination to start a game of the season. That is not ideal for any team, but for the Chargers, it's just been, 1 week is different. Essentially, like 7 different starting lineups in 10 games is crazy. So I went through and looked. So week 1, it was obviously Alt, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Pipkins. Week 4, that changed to Alt, Zion, Bozeman, Sawyer, Pipkins. Week 5, it was Deculus, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Sawyer. Week 6, Deculus, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Hart. Week 8, Alt, Zion, Bozeman, Sorrell, Hart. Week 10, Deculus, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Pipkins. Week 11 now would be Penning, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Pipkins. Like it's changed a lot, and I don't know. This regime apparently loves Bobby Hart, so it might change again once Bobby Hart is fully healthy. It is very difficult to have any kind of chemistry as an offensive lineman when you are constantly changing who is playing next to you, and I do think that has led to a lot of the issues from a stunt standpoint, from a blitz standpoint. The Jaguars defensive line, to me, outside of their run game, is probably the thing to keep an eye on. They're 10th in blitz percentage this week. So I'm at the point where I'm just kind of expecting Herbert to get hit, 4 or 5, 6 times a game, which is unfortunate. But it's insane to me that they're starting another different offensive line combination. And again, that might change next week or the week after if Bobby Hart is healthy. We don't know. So it's just so difficult to really like blame a lot of the offense with the way that these injuries are happening on the offensive line. But they're still able to, the passing game is still relatively successful when they're able to protect. The run game last week looked really good. I do think Penning should be better than Austin Deculus, and I think can kind of give you a little bit of the athleticism of Joe Alt at left tackle. So I think it should be a little better going forward. And if this 5 can be healthy the rest of the way, I think the Chargers should be relatively okay. Like I think it's just the constant changing of parts that is like such an issue. Mekhi Becton, if he is healthy and can rebound from his last 2 games, which are easily the 2 worst games of his season so far, I think they can be okay. Like maybe the 25th best offensive line in the league instead of the 32nd or 31st. But they really need a group to settle in and stay healthy and play consistently. Because if you get to the playoffs and you're again changing parts again, it's just so much more difficult. So hopefully this is the last time we're talking about a different lineup. I hope that this 5 stays healthy and they can play and just keep Herbert relatively upright more so than the past few weeks have been.
Yeah, I hope so. At least with Penning. Now, granted, this is because of an injury, but at least Penning changing the lineup is an intentional thing that they did that they hope is going to be positive. It's like they wanted to make this change at least.
Right.
So hopefully it's positive. We've talked about Trevor Penning and how we feel. I hope he plays fantastic and plays like Joe Thomas. I hope Mike Devlin turns him into, Too Tall Jones or whatever you want to call it. So we'll see.
Too Tall Jones reference. All right.
I was born in 95. I know foosball, whatever. I couldn't even tell you what decade he played in, but anyway, I hope it's good. I think honestly, in particular, it is Becton that is my focus this week. Not that there's a super sick matchup, for him. Like, wow, here's this great player that's across from him, but I really need to see him rebound. I think that he is just his good is so good. The bad has been so bad. The injuries have been the injuries, the concussion, and whatnot. So I hope that there's some bounce back here. I want to feel more positive about him. Last week, you could feel like he was still trying to work his way back. But if this game is also rough, they're not going to make a change with Becton. It would just be disheartening going into the bye. My keeping us up at night, we already talked about the run game and so many other things. So I just try to find anything else. Parker Washington was limited, but he's not on the injury. Like there's no designation questionable or anything for him. I assume he's fine. The Chargers, I think, have a better special teams unit right now. It seems like they've improved. It seems like things are getting better. At minimum, they have Josh Harris, who is sick. But Parker Washington is second in the NFL in punt return average. Was the only returner with 2 scores. I believe he had one last week as well. The number one is Chim DK because of the Chargers. So it's possible that Parker Washington increases his own output this week. And then Bashal Tutin is number 5 in kick return yards per attempt at 28.5. So am I really being kept up at night by the Chargers special teams unit? Not necessarily. But when you look at both of our score predictions, and I think most people's score predictions for this game, especially with the East Coast trip, it's not a 40-point game for the Chargers. It's not a 30-point game for the Chargers. It's going to be a closer game. Like the Chargers are not, they just blew out the Steelers. Generally speaking, I don't think the Chargers on an East Coast trip and not in prime time are good enough to just blow out the Jaguars. So I think it's going to be a close game, as we saw with the Titans. Granted, that was a pick 6 and whatnot, but they only won that game by 7. And that's a very bad Titans team. This Jaguars team is better. They do have better players. So one punt return to set up this or that would be a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, and again, they just have to get to midfield and they're in field goal range. So, a bad punt return here, bad kickoff return there, and suddenly there's 6 points potentially right off the bat. So, the kickoff return stuff has been a little bit better. Cameron Dicker, I think, he's still kicking the ball out of bounds like once a week. I don't understand fully enough about the kickoff rules to be like, hey, like, why aren't they doing this? But like at this point, I just don't understand why they're just not taking the touchback. Like I would rather give a team a touchback at the 35 than kick the ball out of bounds and they're at the 45 or whatever the case may be. It just feels like it's the lesser of two evils. But punt return stuff, Dean Leonard's back, Josh Harris is back. Hopefully they kind of learned a lesson with Jim DK where they're just not going to let Parker Washington beat them. Because if you give up a punt return touchdown or a kickoff return touchdown this week, that's a huge swing for you, for the Jaguars, I should say. So hopefully special teams on par this week with what we kind of expected previously under Ryan Ficken. All right, X Factors this week. Tyler, what do you got for X Factor of the week?
I don't know how it's possible, but Trevor Lawrence has 41 fumbles on 279 rushing attempts, which is I can't believe that's even a real number. I'm curious what statistically all time there is. 41 on 279 is crazy. And he had 2 last week against Houston. So it's not like, oh, this was his first couple of years. Now he's better. No, it's basically the same. It's the same problem. And he's 4th in turnover worthy play rate this season. There's a fumble or an interception or both waiting for the Chargers in this game. I'm sure there are going to be, let's call it 3 plays. At least the Chargers could get some sort of turnover just from Lawrence alone. That's excluding drops. And you mentioned the drops. You mentioned the drops that could turn into interceptions. Those drops that turn into interceptions or those drops do not contribute to turnover worthy play rate. There's all that bad happening from the receivers that cause interceptions, and it's Lawrence throwing turnover worthy plays. So it's kind of a disaster. I don't know what his rate is in terms of this season, but 41 in 279 is unheard of. I believe Herbert was at 29 in his carries throughout his career, one more year and fewer carries, I think. But 29 seems maybe a bit more standard. 41 is insane.
Yeah, so he has 4 fumbles rushing, just on design rushing attempts. He has 4 fumbles this year. Daniel Jones, back to his previous self, has 8. So that's good, I guess. Herbert only has 1 fumble lost on a rushing attempt so far this season, for what it's worth. So when you put this up here, I could not believe it was 41. That's a ton.
That's crazy.
Like, that's insane to me. So I remember like 2 years ago, he had a lot, and the interceptions have continued. So 4 in 9 games for him is potentially mild, I guess, but 41 out of 279 fumbling, that's such a high rate. That's crazy to me.
1 fumble every 7 attempts. That's
insane.
Bizarre. That is bizarre to me. Oh my gosh, it makes Melvin Gordon blush. Sorry, Melvin Gordon. 2nd stray in our preview show this year.
Chargers legend. He retired a Charger.
Retired a Charger. Yes, you're right. Retired a Charger.
I think for me, it's kind of funny we both ended up on like quarterback rushing here, because so Justin Herbert, he gets banged up, he tapes both of his ankles, and everybody's like freaking out. I'm freaking out in the stadium, like, this doesn't look good. And then in the second half, he has like a 19-yard design. It wasn't a design run, but he had a 19-yard scramble for a first down. Does his typical slide, looks great. Had a couple other scrambles. I'm curious this week if he actually is healthy enough to scramble. So it's very different, right? Like, he's not on the injury report. He's going to play, but him scrambling has been such an important aspect of the Chargers offense. And obviously with offensive line issues, him just pulling the ripcord and going has been one of their best plays. It's super efficient. I think he's 3rd in EPA generated on scrambles this season. If I'm not mistaken, it could be lower or higher, but I think it was 3rd, at least heading into the Pittsburgh game. So Herbert scrambling, is this actually a factor this week, or is he just like, is he healthy enough to play, and is he healthy enough to scramble? I think are 2 different things, dealing with potentially 2 ankle injuries. So this is a game where it feels like, the legs of each quarterback can, swing a game. And we've seen that with Herbert time and time again. So if we get through the first half, like in the Tennessee game, he was not really scrambling at all in the first half. And then the second game, or the second half, I should say, he started to scramble more. And eventually that is what got the Chargers the win. And this week is that kind of a similar situation where he's just kind of feeling things out a little bit, staying in the pocket more. And then the second half, is he scrambling, or is he able to scramble the entire game? And if he can, the Jaguars play a decent amount of man covers. They play a decent amount of match zone. So it's like, this could be a big Justin Herbert scramble game, but I don't know if he is actually healthy enough to take advantage of this particular matchup. So I think we'll see early on really like how healthy is he, and if he's willing to scramble right away, I think it could be a big rushing performance for him.
Yeah, it's so streaky sometimes. Like he has a number of rushing attempts per game, but half of that's just the power surge, which I think we've all landed on finally as being the power surge. So good job,
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
The scrambles, look at his career, or not his career, his season this year. There's 4, there's 3, there's a stretch of 1, 1, 1, 0, then 3, then 7, then 4, then 2. And as you even said, even in the game, it's like, okay, why haven't we run once, or why hasn't he not scrambled once? And it's sometimes him even taking sacks in those moments. So yeah, I'm very curious how he feels in game. SoFi, hostile environment, if you will. I know Stephen was there, but I'm sure it was, kind of quote unquote hostile given the number of fans.
Yeah.
I can see the adrenaline playing. What's that?
They had to go silent count, so it wasn't like,
yeah,
it was not 50-50. It was a lot of Steelers fans. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very curious. Does it even matter in this game? Will he have to even scramble? Will Trevor Penning just lead the way for 250 Vidal yards? Who knows? But it's just like that one time. You just want to see the one time at least that he's still good. Or do you just kind of play it safe because you have the bye coming up? I don't know. But as we know with these games, you hoped against the Titans. Well, you just get to do this and just wrap it up and call it a day by halftime. And then it turns into a whole different game. So with the Chargers, I hope they put this away a bit earlier. It does not require any heroics from Herbert. Spoiler, it's going to require heroics from Herbert.
Oh,
hopefully not as much as some games.
Yes. The other thing with Herbert, I think we have to talk about is these like just egregious almost interceptions or potential interceptions to start the games have really every once in a while it's fine, but it's been like every week for the past few weeks where you're staring down Keenan Allen and Cody Barton jumps it, and then Isaiah Rodgers jumps it, and then this week it was Patrick Queen, or was it a corner? I can't remember. Yes, Alex and Sophie, y'all snotted up today. Yes, we are indeed snotted up today. The interceptions have not cost them, but some of them are rather frustrating. And considering how high expectations we have for Justin Herbert, I really would like to see those go away. Not that like I'm asking for Keenan Allen not to be involved. Like he's been great this season, but it always feels like he's staring down Keenan and then people jump it. So hopefully that can kind of go away now and we can get back to just consistent Herbert games. But the staring down of Keenan has gotten a little out of control at times, and I would like to see him play just a cleaner football game this week, in particular in Jacksonville. All of the things we've talked about, how important it is, etc. So just if an interception happened, a drop pass, tip pass, whatever, I don't care. But just asking for a clean Herbert game, I think is very important this week.
Yeah, if nothing else, I hope the opening script avoids him having to even stare down Keenan Allen on a sit or a curl or whatever it ends up being somewhere on the hash. Like if they can avoid that early on and that could not be a part of the script, that'd be great because clearly teams are sitting on it. And if it happens again this week, I don't know what you're doing. So, hey, be better in the run game on the first down. If it's 3rd and 3 and you really want to get to Keenan Allen, hey, 8 yards a carry or a reception for a Keenan Allen on the pop pass. You know what? Let it rip. I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
But the staring down Keenan Allen on 3rd down.
Yeah, just clean game. That's all I want to see for Herbert.
Yeah.
All right, final game prediction here. I think you and I are on the same page, kind of relatively lower scoring. I think the Chargers have enough advantages this week. Like I do think, generally speaking, they've been a much better team at taking care of the football, handling field position, handling 3rd downs. I do think the Jaguars run game gives the Chargers some problems. Maybe we see a big run from ATN or a big run from Bashal Tune or something like that we haven't really seen the last few weeks. But this week, I just think the Jaguars run game is that sound that we'll see, a relatively, good game from them. But I do think the Chargers, again, the edge rushers to me are just such a big advantage this week.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of expecting a 20-16, 20-17, that kind of game. But I do think the Chargers have enough advantages elsewhere to sneak out a win and be 8-3, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would be. Generally, we're on the same page. I think the Chargers will start slow. Again, I hope they can avoid it, but I feel like they'll start slow. I think we've been riding the high of the defense the last few weeks, especially in prime time. But as you mentioned, with the run game of the Jags, I just think they're going to have some moments of success. I even think against the Dolphins, like the Dolphins scored more, but they had their run game success, no problem. Still, Chargers still won that game. They found a way, but there are just things that some teams are good at, and this is the thing the Jaguars are good at that I think the Chargers have been better at stopping, but I just don't know just yet. So you and I do still agree under 20 points for the Jags. I think the defense is just playing really, really solid right now. I don't rate rushing attack, clearly, with the way the Jags have played the last few weeks, is enough to get them to be a 30-point scoring team. So I think the Chargers will win this one. I have them 23-17. You have them 20-16. I think we feel pretty solid about this one.
Yeah.
They just do not have, they have their own injuries. They do not have the same offensive line. They kind of have some of the same problems as the Chargers do. The Chargers have just been better, and Herbert is infinitely better. So I just think right now the Chargers come out on top.
Yeah, I think the quarterback advantage is the key thing. And regardless of offensive line stuff, like Herbert is just elevating his play, elevating those around him, and the Chargers' weapons, stuff like that. So a lot of you expecting a high-scoring affair, and that could be the case. I feel like whenever I feel like this is a low-scoring game, it does kind of end up being a higher-scoring game. But just on paper, it feels like these two defenses and the pass rushes are kind of the biggest advantages from a unit standpoint. So I would love to see a 27-0 game end that way and not end up differently, as Brendan points out. But I think the most important thing, obviously, that the Chargers win, and the momentum of a 4-game win streak, bye week, Raiders game at home, that would just be huge for the Chargers. If they can get onto a 5-game win streak, would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. Please don't go up 27-0. Make it any score. Take an intentional safety at some point. If you're getting close to being 27-0, do anything else. Allow a pick six. I don't care. Do not go 27-0.
You get to 23, 24-0. Just stop. Like, we're done. No more.
24-0. Dicker, I need you to miss that field goal, buddy. I need you to kick the other direction and get the Jaguars 3 points or something. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, Tyler, any other thoughts here before we close out with these super chats today?
I am not going to be making plans to fly to Arrowhead during the halftime of this game like I did a few years ago.
Yeah, we were all going to fly to Arrowhead that week, but unfortunately, Brandon Staley had other plans.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. Steven Sullivan kicking us off. Herbert is to Nick what Braun was to Skip Bayless. Nick, I don't know what Nick Wright has against Justin Herbert. Like, I understand certain people will never take him as serious without playoff success. That's part of the business for QBs. But Nick Wright does this quarterback pyramid every single week, and he's got Herbert like 14th or 15th, and he's got Daniel Jones ahead of him. He's got Jared Goff ahead of him. He's got Drake May like second. And so I just don't understand. Like, he's a Chiefs homer, whatever. Your job is as an analyst is to be real. So having Herbert as the 15th best quarterback is insane to me. But Nick Wright can do his own thing, I guess.
People just love the engagement that comes with pissing off Chargers fans when it comes to Herbert because of our defense of him. And it's so one side or the other. It feels very, polar opposite sometimes. Fortunately, our Chargers fan base, I think in general, because of, Daniel Popper or Arjun when we had him and stuff like that, these guys are talking about Chargers and Herbert and offense in a way that actually brings in these things like numbers and context and EPA or whatever you want to call it, and provides data. So Chargers fans are so loaded up with ammunition to use to defend Herbert, which is so funny because then people do it on purpose. They rile up Chargers fans about Herbert and then go, "Oh, I didn't realize Chargers fans were so sensitive," or whatever. But like, no, we're just capable of defending our quarterback in ways that include statistics because I think I think a lot of our fans are actually very educated in that regard. So it's obnoxious. I hate hearing it. At the same time, I really need Herbert to win a playoff game. Now, will that change much? Not really, because in the next goalpost, we just shift it to Super Bowl.
Yes, to win a Super Bowl,
or the division, or the championship game, or whatever it ends up being. But at least, God, get this guy a playoff game so we can get that off of his back.
Yeah, that'd be great. Shout out to the Blah Man as well. He goes harder than anybody on Twitter. Like, he's not just like trolling, like he has data to back up everything. So I always appreciate him. So Danny Perkins referenced a Daniel Popper tweet, the one about average time to throw and pressure percentage. And then Nick Wright was like, what a stupid tweet. Like, it pissed me off so much. Like, he's like, I don't even understand what that's saying. It's like, do you like, can you read? Like, is reading comprehension that low at FS1? Like, it just,
Yeah.
and then he responded to Popper's tweet about it and was like, oh, like, I actually didn't mean it. Like, we're all good here. I'm like, shut up. Like, you're a troll and you just like to be a troll, and that's okay. Just own it. So
yeah, the backtrack sucked, and I wish Daniel Popper just stepped on his throat a bit more and kept going with it, because yeah, so I just couldn't read it. It was such a small font and so far away. Which to me, by the way, sounds like you're throwing your producers under the bus, by the way. But
yeah,
go off. So you're just finding any other excuse that you couldn't read it. Everybody else seemed to be able to read it just fine. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, the immediate reaction, oh, this is a stupid tweet. I don't even get what this means. Like, that is the most, I mean, illiterate, ignorant shit you could do on TV. Like, you don't have to say these things. You could just say, okay, let me look at it. Give me a second. Okay, go. I could hand that tweet to any of my students who don't know anything about football. And they go, oh, okay. I'm not really sure quite what this means, but I'm going to guess it means this.
Yeah.
I would assume it's positive or something. The fact that he's just like, it's a stupid tweet. Like, give me a break. It just, it was a joke. This week has been something else. Nick Wright, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
And then the other one was like, I don't understand. If Herbert's offensive line is so bad, why is he playing so well?
I don't even
It's
understand.
like, well, they're two separate entities, guy. Like, Herbert can play well in a bad offensive line. We've seen this time and time again because he's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like, oh, he's getting hit 8 times. No, those are fake hits. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, look, as a Chiefs fan or Mahomes supporter, let's say, I think a lot of people who watched that Super Bowl against the Bucs would say Mahomes was running for his life. He was throwing plays that were, some of the throws he was making or throwing were insane, but players were dropping them. But it wasn't on Mahomes. He was making great plays, and the line just let him down. Like, it is possible. You've seen it with your own quarterback that you love and cherish, that they can make positive plays with a bad offensive line. Yeah. It just, like, your argument boils down to, it is impossible to make a good play when pressured. And I don't understand how that's a thought. Now, is Herbert probably the outlier in this scenario because he has to do it all the time? Sure. But I mean, you could talk about the receivers, hey, lots of pressure, but good receiving options or whatever. There's so much you could build into this.
Yeah.
And just to sit there and be like, that doesn't make any sense. And the poor other guy sitting there like, no, it's literally the worst offensive line. No, it is literally the worst offensive line. Well, it's impossible I don't get it. But thank you. Like, every stupid, dumb, ignorant media member out there is just another 2 views for us. Like they pay our bills in their own way because, by golly, they found people that are dumber than me and they have a job. And so therefore, when I jump on here and say anything half decent, it's like, oh, okay, I'll listen to that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's good for us. Excuse me. All right, our next one in here from Aether says, Duval my ass. This Coach Harbaugh team, bold prediction, OA 3 sacks, 2 forced fumble. Bolts win 42-10. Also KC 24, Denver 14. Let's go.
OA 3 sacks. Probably not, but I think he'll have a good game. I think we all agree that the edge rusher should have a pretty good game. 42-10. I don't know. It's possible because look, the Chargers in these really tight playoff game kind of feels with the Vikings, with the Steelers, the gotta have it's. They've played a whole different level. This is not one of those. It's a 10 a.m. game, but they've got a lot of motivation in this one. So them like beating up the Jaguars, I could definitely see. KC 24, Denver 14. I mean, that'd be fine. I am rooting for Denver to lose this one just because I can't stand them winning this many games in a row with the dumbest, like, stupidest wins I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've talked about my dislike of the Broncos a lot, but I feel like their fans are the most glazing fan base in the league. Like they think Bo Nix is like the second coming of John Elway. It's crazy to me. Like there's one of them posted like the stats of Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes, and it's like, well, yeah, that's like two very different contexts here, guy. Like it's not even close. So they love Bo Nix. I think he's very average at best kind of quarterback, but it is what it is. I don't even think Sean Payton believes in Bo Nix, by the way. For Athir's bold prediction, I love that Athir's prediction this week is way more bold than last week. So big shout out to Athir for bringing it. 42-10 would be amazing. It would shock me. OA 3 sacks, I think, is pretty possible. Again, the tackle situation for the Jaguars is not good. The Jaguars do not bring in extra bodies a whole lot to chip and protect and things like that. So I can see OA 3 sacks. Like he's been, I think even last week he only had 2 pressures and 1 hit, but he had a pass rush win rate of like 21%. So he's winning enough that I think 3 sacks is pretty possible. And I would love to see it because OA's been awesome and he's been a great player. He's going to make things a little difficult from a financial standpoint next year.
Yeah.
But he's been awesome, and I love watching him on tape each week.
Yeah, he's going to be expensive no matter what if the Chargers want to bring him back. So I don't mind if he just gets a little more expensive, but more about him. Like you've seen him do it over and over and over again. It's not, here comes the tail off in the season. If he just keeps being great, fantastic. And it's funnier and funnier every time he has a sack or a great play because I'm watching Ravens fans. Granted, Gilman had him mic'd up and seemed like he's been very good for them. So I don't think they hate it. But boy, we heard everything about Owe, and Ravens fans were telling me I should be careful with my excitement for Owe. And it's like, yeah, okay. Once again, Bud Dupree, Owe. Trust me, 2 pressures a game is all I needed.
Yeah, even I tweeted out like 8 or 9 clips, and I had a bunch of Raven fans jump in and be like, "No, this doesn't matter. 0 sacks." And I'm like, "Okay, but like I'm showing you clips of him actually affecting the passer. Like, what are we doing?"
Yeah, was that the spin move?
Yep.
Yeah, the spin move that causes Rodgers to move and then drift left and bail and then not convert on 3rd down. But they're like, "It wasn't a sack. It doesn't matter." It's like, okay, it looked like it affected the quarterback to me.
Right. Richard Mazare says, I live right next to Jacksonville. This has been the coldest weather we've had all year since like last winter. Wouldn't be surprised if some Jags are sick. So I looked it up. It's a high of 81 at kickoff. So
wait, like that's been the cold weather?
That's what I was gonna say.
I wouldn't survive, man. I wouldn't survive at all if that was the cold. Goodness gracious.
I know when the playoff game happened, like it was like 50 degrees at kickoff or something like that. Like it was decently cold, but it's not going to be that cold on Sunday.
There's no way. Okay, I found the place I would never move to.
Jacksonville.
No offense to anybody that lives there, but boy, if that's the cold, yeah, it looks fine.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not going to be as hot as the Miami game, which is good. That was like mid-90s still, so that's always what I worry about in Florida games is like how hot it is. And the Dolphins very smartly, built their stadium so they have like a huge advantage where they're in the shade and the opposing team's in the sun the whole game. But
yeah, that is smart.
Yeah. Brandon Short says that he is on his way to Jacksonville from North Carolina to see the Chargers play for his son's 10th birthday.
Sweet.
Love to see that. Please shout out to Sylvan on his 10th birthday. Go Bolts. Happy birthday, Sylvan, man. Your dad is on it. That's a great birthday present. Hopefully the Chargers can come through with a win for you guys on Sullivan's birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. 10th birthday is a big one. You got to start like making the big life decisions. I think
deodorant soon.
Exactly. So good luck at this game. I hope you get a win. It's always fun to go with your dad to see a win, or your family, whoever you're going with, to see this game. If it's a win, that's fantastic. I don't know if it's his first game or not. If it is, I definitely hope they win. But it feels like a lot of Chargers fans have been going for their birthday or for their first time in our chat that I've been seeing. So hopefully it's a good one. People have been really enjoying the Steelers game, the Vikings game, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I love to see it. I don't know if this is going to be as strong of a turnout as like the Tennessee game, but it does sound like there's a good amount of the East Coast Chargers fans going to this one. So hopefully that is the case. Landon Sumner says sick gang BTFU. A lot of sickness going around. A lot of sickness going around for sure. The PFF ranking on SNF gave me this sick. I'm pretty sure. What is the Chargers narrative the internet is the most wrong about, in your opinion? Is his question.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, the PFF ranking.
It's not kind. It was not kind.
Was not kind. It is one of those things, and we're guilty of this too. Everyone's guilty of this. You know, you don't believe in the grades. The grades are this and that. You can trash them all you want until it paints a narrative that fits your narrative, and then it's like, oh, okay, let's use it. So,
right.
But did I think they were wrong in their rankings? I don't think PFF was super off with Bozeman's ranking or Deculus's ranking or whoever. So,
yeah.
Chargers narrative the internet is the most wrong about. I'm going to assume this is like the entire internet, not just Chargers fans. You can clarify if you want. I mean, I think for a while it was that the Chargers were a great run first, run heavy rushing
last year, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, Greg, like they love, and I do still hear that. Of course, they do want to run the football. They had no problem, handing it off 25 times to Vidal last week, but they do have Herbert, and they do believe that he's pretty good.
Yeah,
so they'll throw it like crazy. What else? I mean, some of the Thule non-talk, but I don't know. I think no one really talks about him, so I can't say they're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, the offensive line stuff, apparently, from FS1.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Whew. I don't know how you can watch the games and whatever.
Yeah, the SNF PFF rankings, though, it's like, do we really need to see that? Like, I don't know.
As long as you got one guy calling the game, then yes, you are going to see it.
Yes, true.
What else?
But I think the big narratives this year have been, generally speaking, like, oh, Jim Harbaugh's toughness and the Herbert is like potentially MVP stuff. Like, there aren't a ton of big national narratives, but last week it felt like every single week, like, oh, the Chargers want to pound the rock, they want to be this, and it was like, well, they really don't. Like, they really are not that team right now. They're actually running the ball more this year than they did last year. So
yeah,
I think part of that is just like trying to keep Herbert upright a little bit more. But yeah, I can't really think of another one besides like general Herbert stuff.
And then, that's going to be around.
Yeah. Athir back with another one says, I love my GAC and Steven and Tyler, new member. All right, Athir, let's go.
All right.
We'll just see
there you go. Hey, we'll take it. We love you, Athir, and your passion, your excitement. We'll take it over someone else we just kicked from our Discord. So if you want to jump in and be that kind of positive crazy, I'm here for it.
Yes. Steven Sullivan says, Jim, I don't know if this is a quote, but not all healthy scratches are fully but cleared.
So they're not fully healthy, but they are cleared and could play.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with Jamari, but supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you got to play Will Dissly soon, man. Like, he's not a perfect pass catcher, and I get that, but as a blocker, like, he's needed out there, I would say.
I agree.
This is from Richard, who wants us to read that Wendy. Richard is taking you to your first Chargers game in 2 decades this Sunday against the Jaguars. Bolt up, mama. Wow, that is a wonderful present from a son. Big shout out to Richard taking his mom to her first Chargers game in 2 decades. Love to see it. Great job, Richard. Great Christmas present. I don't know if that was the intention, but right around the corner. So well done as a son. I'm sure that makes your mom quite happy. So job well done. Big shout out for the super chat as well.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. Anytime you can go with family members, loved ones, friends, you name it. I'll say it. I've said it several times. Took my grandpa to his first Eagles game in 30 or 40 years, I think, when the Eagles beat the Chargers at StubHub. And the Eagles beat the Chargers. It sucked. The Eagles took the stadium over. And that's maybe one of the few times I could be happy with a loss, because my grandpa was so happy, and we lost him only a couple of years after that. So just those moments, and I'm not saying that that's where you guys are, but those moments I'll cherish forever. The time with my dad, I'll cherish. Being in Vegas with Steven, watching the Rams with Arjun, going with my wife, going with my mom, going with my siblings. It's just, you don't forget those.
Yeah, always makes it better when they win, but definitely a lot
Yeah.
more fun. Like,
Yeah.
so me and my family, a bunch of my family came down to the Rose Bowl this year to play when the Utah played at UCLA, and now UCLA is like leaving the Rose Bowl. And it's like, we were talking about it the other day. We're like, we probably, that was probably like the last time we could go to the Rose Bowl. And like, you just take for things like that for granted. And I hope that's not the case. I think UCLA playing games at SoFi would be ridiculous. But, football just has such a strong tie to family. And like, growing up, going to the University of Utah games with my parents and my dad, obviously my brothers, going to away games with my brothers, like it's some of your core memories, obviously. And so love this sentiment from Richard taking his mom to her first Chargers game in 2 decades. So hopefully, again, like Sullivan, you guys get a win there, and you guys can meet up or something. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Wyatt says, I hear you hate sushi. Steven, care to comment? I don't hate sushi. I just have to be like in the mood for it, which happens occasionally. We had sushi actually at downtown Disney when we were there last weekend. So I just have to be like in the mood for sushi, because when it comes to like eating general Asian food, like I'd rather have ramen or like fried rice or stuff like that. Like sushi just generally isn't my go-to when I go to an Asian restaurant.
Yeah, I get you. That it was like a random joke that Alex and I were talking about 3 weeks ago or something. You don't like poke and stuff like that.
I do not like poke.
Raw like fish.
Yeah, I don't like the raw fish. Yeah, that part is true.
Yeah, but there are some good cooked rolls or whatever.
Yeah, or the imitation crab meat, I'm cool with it, but when it's like raw salmon or raw whatever, I'm just like I'm not into it. Or the raw ahi tuna, like no, thank you.
Okay, if the Chargers if they host a playoff game, can I take you to Nobu? You and your wife. I will double date. I'll take you guys to Nobu.
All right, let's do it.
Sounds good.
I mean,
you can spend $10. No.
At a place like Nobu where the sushi is like top tier, I would
have to try it
and deal with
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, like yeah, that's the thing too, is like people in Utah would like, oh, let's go get sushi. I'm like, we're not anywhere close to the ocean. Like, this is
have you seen it?
Where's the fish coming from? Because there are no fish in the Great Salt Lake.
Our mascot's a woolly mammoth for our team, our ice hockey team. Like, we're not exactly around anything that's like a unfrozen body of water. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's funny though. You guys were talking about that. Wyatt back with another one, says, Athir the GOAT, Chargers podcast chatter, CMV. What's CMV?
Wait, time out. This popped up the other day. CMV popped up and I forget what it was. We sat here and had to wait for someone to tell us this. But yes, he is by far the most involved.
Change my view?
Oh yeah, change my view. Yeah, like change my opinion, change my view.
Okay.
I will not. In terms of pure involvement, it has to be Athir.
Yeah, Athir's in all the podcast chats, sending super chats. I love it. So yeah, I don't disagree with that.
It was literally him last time. Changed my view. I got it. Okay, I'm not gonna forget. I'm trying to keep up. All right. Change my view. Change my view. We will not forget. Send it in.
Both of us work with teenagers, so I feel like we're up to date on the bulk of the slang. But CMV, I don't think I've seen that one.
No. Other than apparently the last time he said this, we'll get it, I promise. I promise we'll get that.
Yeah, I appreciate Wyatt. That's thank you for jumping in here.
Yeah, we do have one. Scroll away.
Last one. Sorry.
Nope, you're on it.
Okay, last one for Bulk Guy 918 says, got on late, is Penning starting? You guys are the MVP. Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you for the super chat. It does sound like Trevor Penning is going to start.
I can't believe that's where we're at, by the way, guys.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
There's like a weird like Plinko game of shit that could happen this year, or bingo card, or whatever you want to call it. And the fact that they don't have Slater, so they don't have Alt, and now Zion Johnson, who we have a video of us cheering for because they also didn't take Trevor Penning, is not going to start next to Trevor Penning. What in the world is happening? Is it just our fault? Is ultimately what this all comes down to? Is it's our fault for cheering about that? And so now we are stuck with Penning. Either way, I hope it works out. Oh my gosh, who was the guy on Twitter who did a breakdown of Penning? Was it Ryan? I don't remember his handle, but I retweeted it. Check it out. I hope it's positive. I don't trust this offensive line staff whatsoever. But as I found out on the podcast today, Austin Deculus is the worst PBE in the league. So again, we are talking, if this is the OA timeout, I said it, we should not talk about this the same way. I can't go back against my own thing here.
Yeah.
But if it's positive because the bar is so low, like Dupree, then I'm game.
Yeah, just be even like below average would be an upgrade. Frank says Penny is an upgrade at this moment in time. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I think so.
To his credit, I do think Austin Deculus was pretty good in the run game on Sunday against the Steelers. The pass protection is obviously an issue, but at the same time, like the Chargers left him on an island quite a lot in other games. Like they did a much better job this week of helping him out. So they need to continue to help out Penning because I don't think his pass blocking is going to be like significantly better. He probably won't be like worst in the league, but I don't know, man. Like it just sucks. Like we went through an entire decade of like just scrubs at tackle, and then the Chargers finally get two of the best in the league, and it's like hurt, and it's so cruel even for the Chargers standards.
Yeah, if you look back at our tier rankings for the Chargers this year, Slater, but that's based on history of play, knew he'd be great. Alt, you and I thought, that's protector of the year potential. That's no longer here. Deion Henley, we thought could be an all-pro. That's not around. Tarheeb still sneaking towards Pro Bowl. Arguably not going to happen. It won't happen at this point, but his play could reflect it.
Yeah.
So it's been a rough year for our positive thoughts on the players this year.
Yes, there's been some other ones, obviously, like, Aranda Gadsden has taken off, and Kamani Vidal and Trey Harris has had some moments, so it's been good. But we felt like the Chargers would have 5 or 6 Pro Bowlers, and they might have 1 or 2. Like it's not nearly as positive as we thought in that regard. Like Derwin will probably make the Pro Bowl. He's got enough votes and enough fans around the league.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack might make the Pro Bowl just because of, status,
Yeah.
Herbert should make the Pro Bowl, but, we'll see about quarterback narratives and stuff like that. Drake May obviously is kind of taking the league by storm right now. So we'll see, AFC wise what happens there, but that might be it. Like maybe Dicker sneaks in.
Dicker, McConkey would have to go on this tear because he's 13th in the NFL in receiving yards.
Yeah,
so he could get there eventually, but Pro Bowl is going to go to JSN, Chase, Jefferson, Nakua, and whoever else. So,
yeah, all pro wise, I think Derwin is probably the only one that has a chance, and even that, like with Kyle Hamilton's back in the slot, Cooper DeJean plays the slot a lot, so it's challenging for him for sure. And yes, the Pro Bowl game itself is absolutely a joke. It's horrible. Flag football in the NFL is crazy. But the awards and the voting matters. Like, and it impacts the players' paychecks. Like it definitely still has, importance. And so when it comes to voting, vote for your guys, especially somebody like Cam Dicker, who's, potentially, one of the one, or I think him or Boswell are probably the 2 best kickers in the AFC. So one of them should go, but hopefully we can get our guy to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, not that it's the deciding factor, but for non-quarterbacks for sure. Quentin Jammer said that he thinks Derwin James, when all said and done, will be the best safety ever. Now, do I agree? No, because you've got a ways to go. Although he has found a bit of a resurgence with Minter. He's been generally pretty healthy, knock on wood. So it's possible if he keeps playing and playing and playing and playing, he's in the conversation. But if you are talking about that discussion, or him maybe even being a Hall of Famer one day, these things like Pro Bowl that aren't exactly, the game itself was a joke, but having, 8-time Pro Bowl or 10-time, this and that, like Gates has, those things matter.
Yeah. All Pro is definitely more important and it's more exclusive,
Totally.
but the Pro Bowl still helps guys a lot. And so vote for your favorite players. A couple other ones in here that just jumped in. Miss Andrew Shoon bolts up. We always appreciate her jumping in here
Mhm.
on a Saturday, whenever, and sending a big super chat. So thank you, Miss Andrew Shoon.
Yeah, love you, Mom. See you, I think, today. We're all trying to make plans as a family that's indoors, but we'll see.
Nice.
Pouring
Nice.
rain over here.
Yeah, it's raining up here as well.
Mhm.
Wyatt back with another one, says first round picks at LT and LG, say less.
And our right guard.
And yeah, and there was another one, wasn't there? I guess Trevor Penning also.
Yeah, now they're the other 2 first round picks are on IR.
Yes, the Chargers love first round pick offensive linemen. So we'll see if they draft one next year. Sounds like a good guard class.
Cool.
We'll see, which is
Cool.
good.
After they win the Super Bowl, I'll check them out.
There you go. Frank Blakely, appreciate him jumping in here as always. Says I can't help but thinking how good the offense will be with Slater/Alt and hopefully drafting guard/center. Future looks good. This is definitely a very positive outlook by Frank, and he's been pretty on this in general about kind of next year and building forward. The Chargers have a great young core of offensive players. I think that is absolutely fair to say.
Yeah. Guard center, didn't mention first round. So yeah, drafting a guard and center sounds fantastic to me. I think they will have to take at least 2 next year. I said that the last 2 years.
Yes. The Chargers should probably double dip at center and right guard in free agency and the draft. But, we said that last year and the year before that.
I think you and I have watched, what do you think, 50 interior offensive linemen the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Pretty easily. And
like last year in particular, I was like, I'm going to watch as many guards as centers as I can. Like I think I graded like 15 centers, and I was like, and then just to not see them draft one at all, I was like, are you kidding me? Like even taking like a Jake Majors in the 7th round, I would have been happy, but they did not. They took Branson Taylor, who is still on the practice squad after all these injuries.
That's crazy. He's if not for the injuries, he's donezo next year.
Yeah. But yes, Frank is right. Like you have Alton Slater come back. We'll see what happens with the rest of the offensive line. You have Hampton and Vidal, 2 young players who look really, really good. Obviously, Herbert, receiver wise, you have a great trio going forward. We'll see what happens with Keenan. Aronde has taken that step. Tucker Fisk is a great blocking tight end. So the Chargers offense has some great young pieces, and hopefully that's the core that kind of takes them to the next step.
Yeah, at least with Alton Slater, it's not even kind of a question of are they good. So we're not waiting to see the breakout game if they're good. They're great. Just get on the field.
Yes. And then Wyatt says, by the way, Nick Wright is a shit poker player too. You got to give us more. Like, did you play against him? Like, how do you know this?
By the way, is the Wyatt Earp is that your name, by the way, or is that a play on Wyatt Earp? I'm just curious if this is a tombstone kind of reference sort of to deal, or if he really just is a shit poker player. Granted, it wouldn't surprise me. If you don't understand pressure rate percentages, I don't see how you understand any percentages of poker. Oh, he plays poker on TV. Oh,
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And then he said about his name, it's a play. You nailed it. All right.
If it's at all like Tombstone, I effing love that movie. So
a couple of people asking about Tyler Linderbaum to the Chargers. Obviously, we have a lot of off-season stuff to get to. Jeremy Fowler said that the 2 sides are very far apart on an extension. So we'll see. They were also very far apart on an extension for Lamar for quite a long time. That can always change. But I do think it is a pretty good center free agency group. And then that was probably their justification for bringing Bradley Bozeman back, is like you have a bad free agency class, a lot of question marks, scheme fit, injuries, etc. This year, there's a few guys that I think would be significant upgrades at center that they could potentially look at. So again, we have said that for a while, but there is actually a supply that matches their need at center. So obviously the Chargers have to go out and do it, but it's not just Linderbaum. Like Dylan brings up Cade Mace, who's starting for the Panthers right now. He's a free agent. Connor McGovern for the Bills, he's a free agent. He can play center and guard for what it's worth. Luke Wattenberger for the Broncos, they have barely any cap space. He's a free agent. So it's a pretty good center free agent group, at least right now. Again, a lot of that can change and will change, but even if it's not Linderbaum, like they have the ability to go spend on a center or a right guard and then draft one in the first or second round, and I think solidify the offensive line in a way that they did not last year, just given the resources. So hopefully. Next one in here. I can't believe we got a couple more sent in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hour 45. So appreciate you guys so much.
Oh,
Aaron sending in a $20 super chat says, "Am I the only one rooting for the Broncos against the Chiefs? I just feel better about having a bigger gap between us and KC." That's fair. And I think the Broncos won't be too hard to overtake. I still think we can win the division.
That's not bad. So ensure the Chiefs are far enough away from it where they're not much of a threat there, or they're at best the 7th seed and got to go travel to Buffalo or something, or I guess New England or the Colts, which isn't the worst thing. I don't know. I also kind of just don't want that week 18 game to matter as much. I would like to be ahead of the Broncos by that point, because having to drag your team at Denver in January doesn't sound great. Also isn't great. If you're really talking about that last playoff run, which we're talking about right now, they did do the at Denver thing, had to play players, and Mike Williams has back broken. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm rooting for the Broncos to lose. If I had to pick.
Yeah, I think ultimately they'll end up splitting their series, but the Broncos, so if they win against the Chiefs tomorrow afternoon, that would put them at 9-2. I think, 9-2.
Win, yeah.
And then they have a bye. They play Washington and the Raiders. They should win each of those 2 games. So that's 11-2. Then they play the Packers at home, Jaguars at home, at the Chiefs, and then home against the Chargers. So I understand what Aaron is saying, where the Broncos are probably easier to catch, and ideally for everybody, the Chiefs are not in the playoffs. But for the Chargers' chances of specifically winning the division, I think it is better that the Broncos lose twice against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and maybe somebody else knocks the Chiefs out themselves, including the Chargers.
Yeah, could be the Chargers also, yes. They were so close to winning at Kansas City last year. Hopefully that can happen this time around.
What game was that? I didn't remember that. Oh, yes, I do remember that game.
It's like 19-17.
Yeah.
Deal.
Yeah.
So the games at Arrowhead are always close, but yeah. All right, last one in here from Luigi says that segment was actually so bad. I assume he's talking about Nick Wright and all those guys.
He's just talking about us. Yeah, it was really bad. NFL media just finds a way to surprise me every week sometimes with their takes, but I don't know. Here we are.
Mander wants us to talk about food. So top 3 sides on the plate with turkey. Thanksgiving might be early. So Thanksgiving is like next week, not next week.
Couple
after.
Weeks. Yeah.
Weeks.
Mashed potatoes easy. Any way you make it, just as long as it's not like drier and flavorless, but good mashed potatoes. A big stuffing guy for sure over here.
Stuffing has to be on the list. Absolutely.
Yeah. Stuffing. Mom makes a couple different kinds of stuffing. And I think I need something sweet on my plate there. I mean, are we counting dessert? I don't think it's really a dessert. No, it's not a side. I don't know. Stovetop stuffing.
Yeah.
Anybody Dave Chappelle sketch on that one?
I'll eat green bean casserole. It's not like my favorite. Mashed potatoes depends so much on who's making it, because if you don't make good mashed potatoes, they could be bad. They could be really bad. The last few years, I've been bringing mac and cheese to Thanksgiving dinners. So I love doing mac and cheese. I love candied yams, again, if cooked properly. So
sure.
The potatoes in general, it just depends like who's cooking it, because like they can be great. Like mashed potatoes, like if you do garlic mashed potatoes, it'd be so good.
Oh God. Yeah.
But if you're just doing like, there's sometimes people put like too much heavy cream in there or whatever. It's tough. So
Yeah.
for me, consistently, I will say stuffing and mac and cheese, and then
Mhm.
some kind of potato and candied yams with marshmallows on top, as Wes points
Yeah,
out. Fantastic.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good 1, 2, 3
yeah.
there for sure.
But mac and cheese and stuffing, I think, are absolutely 1 and 2 for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ditch any one of those. That's totally fine. I have to represent rice, white rice for me, please.
Can't say I've ever had white rice at Thanksgiving.
Well, deck the halls, hang out with me anytime, man.
Just like regular, like steamed white rice?
Fuck yeah, dude. What can't you have steamed rice with? You can have steamed rice with anything. Sticky or jasmine. I guess sticky. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't really love jasmine rice. And I don't even consider regular like steamed rice to be I'm Chinese, guys. What do you want me to do? I have rice with pretty much everything. Yeah. So it's great with everything. Get dark meat turkey and rice. Anything you want and rice. It's good. Mac and cheese, mix it up with rice. Candied yams and rice. It's the ultimate food delivery system.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like rice is fine to me. I don't love rice, but
Well,
it is.
For breakfast, rice, absolutely.
Dude, I will absolutely have some spam and eggs with rice in the morning.
Heck
Love
yeah,
spam
man.
and eggs.
Yeah, man. Need some, budget's a little tight. Hot dogs and eggs and rice, cheese, whatever, man.
That's too far. Guitarist in the chat. It's too far.
Where's guitarist? Rice is empty carbs. You're empty carbs. Your mom's empty carbs.
All right, we did get a couple other super chats. JLM says, do you think there's more pressure this offseason coming up on Ortiz to fix the offensive line? I think there has to be, because last season, like, it was at least like the pressure was relatively stable. It was like a 30%. So it wasn't great, but it was like stable. This year, with how much Herbert has been hit, like, I think there is at least slightly more pressure on him to fix the offensive line.
Yes, is there more pressure to fix the offensive line? I guess, but where's the pressure coming from?
Right.
I assume, but I don't think there's been more pressure than there has been, because I think year one there was the most pressure. But from the fans, yeah, like if Ortiz does not do this, it's basically not going to matter what else he does.
Yeah, because we've all been talking about this for 2 years now. And
Yeah.
the first offseason, it's like, okay, they only had like $20 million in cap space or whatever. We all knew that they were going to take an offensive lineman early, and they had so many picks, they had so many needs. It was like, okay, you get Alton here, the offensive line is relatively better. The second offseason, where it's like we're all talking about it again, we studied 30 offensive linemen for no reason apparently. So yes, like we've all been talking about it, and I think, Harbaugh and Roman, like the way that they want to play football, they just I hope that they are reflective enough to at minimum explore a center upgrade. Like if you want to roll the dice again with Zion and Becton, I can kind of understand it, and you draft kind of a long-term replacement. Okay. But they absolutely need to upgrade at center, like at bare minimum. And I hope that it's not just like, oh, we love Bradley Bozeman, the person and the leader, and we're cool with it. Like I hope that they are reflective enough to look at the film and the numbers and all of that stuff and make a change.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think at minimum we just see the center position addressed and maybe a backup swing guy. That's about it.
Yes. Joey, I don't know if there was a question in here, but we appreciate you. I don't see one, but thank you for sending in a super sticker, I guess.
Thank you, Joey. Nope, I don't see one. So that's very nice of you, Joey.
All right. Okay. 2 hours on a Saturday when both of us are sick. I think that's a pretty productive Saturday afternoon for you guys.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go make some rice. So what time is it? 11:58. Yep, rice o'clock. Let's do it.
Rice o'clock. Nice.
If they win tomorrow, I'll eat a bowl of rice.
There you go. Just plain.
Yeah, fuck, I don't care. Throw butter in there, throw whatever, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. That is going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, right after the game, about 10 minutes after the Chargers game goes final. So hopefully we'll be talking about an 8-3 Chargers team and going from there. Joey, going to your first Chargers games versus Texans. Any tips? Get there early. Go to the SoFi team store. Do the whole tailgate thing. We can talk about a lot, but I do kind of want to stop recording right now.
I got it. I'll close this out. First of all, is that Texans game? What is it, home? Yeah, get there early. Enjoy yourself. Go to the Pink Alley, Thunder Alley, tailgate sort of stuff. It's fantastic. If Rex Burkhead is playing, leave. But otherwise, I think you're good.
Yeah. All right, guys. That is going to do it for us today. Appreciate the heck out of you tuning in on a Saturday morning. 2 hours here was definitely not expected, but we are here to support the people, and we appreciate you guys so much. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. As always, bolt up.